Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, U.S. Immigration News. How to protect yourself if ICE comes to your home. A video to handling immigration raids. In the face of heightened immigration enforcement, it's essential to know your rights if ICE visits your home, workplace, or stops you in public. This video provides key steps to protect yourself and your family during these encounters. What to do if ICE visits your home. Know your rights and stay protected. The fear of immigration raids is growing, especially with Donald Trump's promises of mass deportations if re-elected. Many undocumented individuals worry about U.S. immigration and customs enforcement showing up at their homes, workplaces, or communities. Although Trump claims he will prioritize deporting criminals and individuals who pose national security threats, the reality is that anyone without legal immigration status is at risk. 1. You do not have to open your door. If ICE comes knocking, you are not legally required to let them in unless they present a valid search warrant signed by a judge. Simply ask them to slip the warrant under the door or hold it up to a window so you can verify the judge's signature. If the warrant does not have your correct name or is not signed by a judge, you do not have to open the door. 2. You have the right to remain silent. You are not obligated to answer any questions, including inquiries about your immigration status, country of birth, or how you entered the U.S. Anything you say can be used against you in a deportation case, so it is often best to remain silent. Politely tell the officers that you are exercising your right to remain silent. 3. Do not show foreign identity documents. You have the right to refuse to provide identification that indicates your country of origin, such as a foreign passport. However, do not present false documents, lie, or falsely claim U.S. citizenship. Making a false claim to U.S. citizenship is a severe immigration violation with no waiver, meaning it could permanently bar you from legal status in the future. 4. Speak to an attorney before signing anything. If ICE officers present paperwork, do not sign anything without first consulting an attorney. You may unknowingly sign a voluntary departure form or other documents that waive your legal rights. If you already have an immigration lawyer, show ICE your attorney's G-28 form, which proves representation. 5. Know your right to an attorney. Even if you do not have a lawyer at the moment, you can still request one before answering any questions or signing documents. If you are detained, insist on speaking with an immigration attorney before making any decisions about your case. 6. Prepare in advance. Because Trump has promised stricter immigration enforcement, it is wise to consult with an immigration attorney now, before ICE knocks on your door. Understanding your legal options and potential paths to legalization can make a critical difference in your case. The fear of mass deportations is real, but knowing your rights can help protect you and your loved ones. What can you do if you fear an ICE raid? How to respond to immigrant enforcement agents. There are a lot of immigrants in Florida without permanent status. The Sunshine State has thousands of workers on H-2 visas, immigrants on travel or school visas, refugees, undocumented people, and more than 21,000 DACA recipients or dreamers, immigrants brought into the country as children. And many of are terrified that an ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, raid will break into their homes or show up at schools or jobs and arrest and eventually send them out of the country in the Trump administration's mass deportation effort. While Governor Ron DeSantis has long made tougher immigration enforcement a major part of his own gubernatorial policy, ever since President Donald Trump declared a national border emergency on the first day of his second term, there has been a dramatic increase in raids with the stated goal of mass deportation. We will declare a national emergency at our southern border, Trump said during his inaugural speech. All illegal entry will be immediately halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of illegal aliens back to the places from which they came. To aid in this, the Trump administration deputized thousands more federal law enforcement officers. Last week, Trump also issued executive orders to authorize the expansion of expedited removal, which allows the U.S. to deport someone without a hearing, and revoked a ban on ICE arrests in sensitive areas such as hospitals, schools, and churches. What can concerned immigrants do to protect themselves, especially if they have the right to be here, but fear being deported anyway? Prepare and communicate, according to immigration advocates. Here are some tips provided by the American Civil Liberties Union and the National Immigration Resource Center. Consult a lawyer for your specifics. This should not be considered legal advice. How to prepare for an ICE raid. If you are over 18, you should carry your immigration papers with you at all times. The National Immigration Resource Center also recommends gather important documents for all family members showing how long each one has been in the United States. This can include birth certificates, U.S. income tax returns, utility bills, leases, school records, medical records, or bank records. Put copies into a secure online folder or location you can access by phone. Identify your emergency contacts, memorize their phone numbers, and make sure your contact can access all of your documents. Memorize your immigration number, A number, and make sure your family members or emergency contacts know it, so they can find you more easily if you are detained. Provide your child's school or daycare with an emergency contact to pick up your child in case you are detained. If you are detained, you, your family, or emergency contacts can contact the local ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations (ERO) office to initiate an ICE case review process. You can find your local ERO office here. Have supporting documents ready. You also may want to avoid sharing your worries and preparation on social media or in email and non-secure messaging applications. What do you do if you ask about my immigration status? Everyone living in the United States has certain rights and protections provided by the U.S. Constitution, whatever their residency status is. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, including, you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to discuss your immigration or citizenship status with police or immigration agents. Anything said to an officer can later be used against you in court. If you are not a U.S. citizen and an immigration agent asks for your papers, you are required to present them if you have them with you. If you don't have them, tell the officer you want to remain silent or that you want to consult a lawyer before answering any questions. You have the right to say no if an immigration agent asks if they can search you. Agents do not have the right to search you or your belongings without your consent or probable cause. In Florida, you are required by law to identify yourself to Florida law enforcement officers if you are stopped on suspicion of a crime or a traffic violation, but you don't have to answer questions about your immigration status. Customs officers can ask you about your immigration status when entering or leaving the country. If you are a lawful permanent resident, you must answer questions to establish your identity and residency, but that's it. Although refusal to answer other questions may delay your entry into the country. If you are a non-citizen visa holder, you may be denied entry into the U.S. if you refuse to answer officers' questions. What is a judicial warrant? A judicial warrant is a warrant signed by a judge with a U.S. District Court or a state court listed at the top. Other warrants, such as a deportation warrant, do not allow entry without consent. What do you do if you are stopped by police or ICE? First, stay calm and don't run, argue, resist, or obstruct the agent or officer, even if you believe your rights are being violated. Keep your hands clearly visible and non-threatening. Do not lie or provide fake documents. Say you wish to remain silent and ask for a lawyer immediately. Don't say anything else or sign anything, and do not make any decisions without a lawyer. If you have been arrested by police, you have the right to make a local phone call. Police cannot listen in if you call a lawyer. If you have been detained by ICE, you have the right to contact your consulate or have an officer notify the consulate of your detention. Don't discuss your immigration status with anyone but your lawyer. If you are visited by an immigration agent while in jail, do not answer questions or sign anything before talking to a lawyer. Read all papers fully and ask for an interpreter if you need one. If you believe your rights were violated, write down everything you remember, including officers' badges and patrol car numbers, the agencies they were from, and any other details. If you're injured, seek medical attention and take pictures of your injuries. File a written complaint with the agency's Internal Affairs Division or Civilian Complaint Board. If police or IC come to my home, What do? Keep the door closed and speak to them through it. Remember, you have the right to remain silent, even if they have a warrant, and you do not have to let them inside unless they have the right kind of warrant. The ACLU advises, ask who they are and what they're there for. Ask to see identification through a window or peephole. Ask if they have a warrant signed by a judge. If so, ask them to slide it under the door or hold it up to a window for you to read. Don't lie or provide false documents. Don't sign anything without a lawyer. Don't open your door unless ICE has a judicial search or arrest warrant naming a person in your residence and or areas to be searched at your address. A warrant of removal/deportation, Form I-205, does not allow officers to enter a home without consent, unless you are on probation with a search condition. If they do not have a judicial warrant, keep the door closed and say, "We do not consent to your entry." If agents or police force their way in, do not resist. If you wish to exercise your rights, state, "You do not consent to your entry or to your search of these premises. We exercise my right to remain silent. We wish to speak with a lawyer as soon as possible." If you are arrested and you currently have an immigration case underway and are denied release on bond, ask for a bond hearing before an immigration judge. Can you challenge a deportation order? If you are told that you do not have the right to see an immigration judge, talk to a lawyer immediately. There are some cases in which a person might not have a right to see an immigration judge, but even if you are told that's the case for you, immigration officers will not always know or tell you about exceptions that might apply. If you fear persecution or torture in your home country, tell an officer and contact a lawyer immediately. You have additional rights if you have this fear. You can challenge a deportation order unless you waive your right to a hearing, sign a stipulated removal order, or take voluntary deportation. Again, do not sign anything without having a lawyer go over first. Am you entitled to a lawyer if ICE arrests me? If you are arrested by police, you have the right to a government-appointed lawyer, and you should ask for one immediately if you do not already have one. But if you are detained by ICE or Border Patrol, you have the right to hire a lawyer, but the government does not have to provide one for you. You can ask for a list. You have the right to call a lawyer or your family, and you have the right to be visited by a lawyer while in detention and to have your lawyer with you at any hearing before an immigration judge. How can you find an immigration lawyer in Florida? The Immigration Advocates Network provides a list of over 50 Florida-based organizations that help migrants, refugees, and others access legal, health, and social services. You can narrow the list down by services, what languages they speak, zip code, and more. What do you do if ICE comes to my job? ICE agents may enter public areas of your workplace, just like anyone else, but they do not have the authority to stop, question, or arrest just anyone, according to the National Immigration Law Center, and they may not enter private areas without the permission of your employer or a judicial warrant. Stay calm. Do not run for the exits, which could give ICE agents a legal reason to arrest you. Employers are not required to say if an employee is working that day or take them to that person. Stay silent and ask for an attorney. The executive order allowing arrests at schools, hospitals, and churches does not allow them entry to private areas without a judicial warrant. How can you find someone who has been detained by ICE? You can use the ICE online detainee locator system and search by name, country of birth and birth date, or by the person's immigration number. It will be a 9-digit number, starting with A. You can find it on correspondences from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security or the Executive Office for Immigration Review. If that doesn't work, contact an ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Field Office. Or if you know where they are being held, contact the Immigration Detention Facility directly. Can you be readmitted to the U.S. if you are deported? A non-citizen who has been deported from the U.S. is banned from reentry for a period of years, up to 20 if you were deported in connection to conviction for an aggravated felony. You can apply for readmission to the U.S. after that time. If you are a U.S. citizen or have a legal right to be here and get deported anyway, contact the U.S. Embassy in the country you've been deported to. Bring your documentation or make sure you have access to it. You may also be able to file a civil rights claim against the government.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel US Immigration News. We hope you are doing great. How to protect yourself if ICE comes to your home, a video to handling immigration raids. The fear of immigration enforcement action has intensified, particularly with Donald Trump's promises of mass deportation. If re-elected, many undocumented individuals as well as those with a temporary status worry about US immigration and customs enforcement visiting their homes, workplaces, or communities. While Trump asserted that deportation will prioritize criminal and national security threats, the reality is that anyone without legal status is at risk. However, all individuals, regardless of immigration status, have a right under the US Constitution. If ICE visit a home, individuals are not legally required to open the door unless presented with a valid judicial search warrant signed by a judge. They can request to see the warrant through a window or have it slide under the door. If the warrant lacks a judge's signature or contains incorrect information, the person inside is not obligated to comply. Additionally, individuals have the right to remain silent and are not required to answer questions about their immigration status, country of origin, or method of entry into the US. Any information provided can be used against them in a deportation case, so silence is often the safest choice. It is also crucial to avoid presenting foreign identification documents which may indicate non-US citizenship, but lying or using false documents should be strictly avoided. If ICE officers present documents for signature, individuals should not sign anything without consulting an attorney. Signing forms without understanding them may result in an unintended waiver of legal rights or voluntary deportation. Even if an individual does not have any attorney at the time, they can request legal representation before answering questions or assigning any paperwork. Those detained by ICE have the right to contact their consult and should insist on speaking with an immigration lawyer before making any decision. To prepare for potential ICE encounters, individuals should ensure that important document proving their long-term presence in the US are gathered and stored securely. This may include tax return, medical records, and school documents. Emergency contacts should be identified, and children's schools should have designated guardians in case parents are detained. Memorizing or securely storing one's immigration number can assist family members in locating detained individuals more quickly. In public, immigrants have the right to remain silent when questioned about their status and should not consent to searches unless required by law. If stopped by police or ICE, remaining calm and requesting an attorney is crucial. If an individual believes their rights have been violated, they should document details, seek medical attention if injured, and consider filing a complaint. Understanding these rights and preparing in advance can help protect individuals and their families from unjust immigration enforcement actions.